NFL Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Grueling Truth Sports Network is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. So go online, check out Betting.net. I am your co-host for the NFL Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my other co-host. First up, 1981 national champion with the Indiana Hoosiers, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great today. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
And of course, as always, we've got our resident Detroit Lions fan. There's only 6 of them left in the world. And, you have to drink constantly when you're a Detroit Lions fan. Help me welcome to the show, Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
What's up, guys? I'm ready for week 5. Let's keep it going. Who's in the lead right now, by the way?
Right now, Dan is in the lead by 2 games over me and 6 games over Steve. It won't last to lead over me. And really, once Steve gets in his groove, that probably won't last for you either. All right. We're going to start off with, we got some pictures from Urban Meyer, who came to L.A. today. And Steve Risley sitting on his lap. So let's get what Dan thinks. Dan, what do you think about Urban Meyer? Is it time for the Lions to just cut bait?
You mean the Jaguars?
Yeah, whatever.
I know.
They're both to the Lions afterwards.
They're both terrible teams, and they're both cats. How could you tell us apart? I get it. Yeah. But I don't think Jacksonville's done with him yet, but I think it's close. I wouldn't be surprised if he bailed after like 10 or 12 games or something like that and used his health as the excuse like he did at Ohio State, like he did at Florida. So that's kind of his MO. And we've seen this before with college coaches flaming out, like elite college coaches flaming out in the pros. It happened with Saban. Now it's happened with Urban Meyer. Patino, when he was a coach for the Falcons as well. All disasters. I don't think Jacksonville's done with him yet, but it's close. I think he's already probably lost that locker room. We already heard an interview from one of the random players that they're laughing at him. No one takes him serious. And how could you? This whole thing with him has been a joke.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and let's look
at... I have a question. When did Patino coach the
He's talking about Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino was...
He said Patino.
Yeah, I did. Petrino was the head coach of the Falcons. He left after like 11 or 12 games and just...
Well, it's fine. I know who Petrino was, but he said Patino.
My bad.
I'm thinking, when did Rick decide to get out of Louisville? But then that fits right up what Urban's doing with young women and what Rick was doing.
Yeah, all of them kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, they go hand in hand, so I just trying to make a correlation for him.
All right, let's go ahead and start off with the game of the week, I think. The Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 3.5. This is a matchup that is a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. And right now, these are teams going in opposite directions, Steve.
Yeah, they are. Well, I'm not ever going to count Kansas City out as long as Mahomes is healthy and playing quarterback for that football team. You know, they're hurting a little bit as a football team, too. Defensively, they're still not strong. Buffalo will be the toughest test that this team is facing. I believe they're 2-2 right now, aren't they?
Right now, the Bills are 3-1. The Chiefs are 1-3.
Are they 1-3? I thought they were 2-2.
Or they 2-2. Dan.
2-2.
2-2. Yeah. But I tell you what, this is a tough call right here. Game's at Kansas City.
At Kansas City, yep.
Yeah, this game is much more important to the Chiefs than it is to the Bills. While it's vitally important to both of them, yeah, it's going to be a really fun game to watch. But I think if I'm picking, I'm going to take. I'm going to give up to 3.5 and take the Chiefs.
All right. I'm going to say this. The Buffalo Bills are a better football team. Their defense is good enough to slow them down. Josh Allen is as good as any quarterback in the NFL.
Agreed.
The Buffalo Bills will go to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. They'll make a statement. Am I crazy, Dan?
I don't think you're crazy, no. And this 3.5 is right in the sweet spot, I think. Buffalo is dealing with a bunch of injuries this week. Greg Rousseau, Matt Milano, guard John Feliciano, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White. They've all either missed practice this week already or were limited. So that's something we'll want to keep an eye on moving forward. Kansas City, on the flip side, isn't really dealing with that many injuries of note at all. I mean, Chris Jones is the biggest name on that, and he's questionable for week 5. I expect he'll play pending something unforeseen, though. It's definitely the game of the week. 3.5 is a nice little line. I'm gonna go with Buffalo too, man. They're on another level. I just read a stat here that this is the second time that they've pitched a shutout this season, and it's the first time since 1990 that they've pitched more than one shutout in a season. They dominated the Texans, and they're, like you said, they're going to make a statement this week. I'm going to go with Buffalo on this.
All right, next we'll go to Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks.
Wait a minute. Can I say, well, I'm either going to be 5 down or 7 down right off the get-go.
Right off the bat. I love it.
You'll be
right off the bat.
All right, this week, the LA Rams, who are limping into Seattle after taking a massive butt whooping by the Arizona Cardinals, are 1.5-point favorites at Seattle, Dan.
1.5-point favorites. The Rams are, you said?
Yes.
See, this is another tough game. The Rams aren't dealing with any crazy injuries of note, literally at all, worth mentioning. Seattle, same thing pretty much. I mean, Chris Carson didn't practice on Tuesday. Their running back, he's questionable. So I want to keep an eye on that. And it's curious about this short week, how he'll respond on a short week. We might see more of Alex Collins, their backup running back, who did okay for them when he stepped in for Carson when Carson went down. But I'm going to go with LA. LA is just, this 1.5 line is weird. It's I don't know how I feel about this 1.5. I don't think it's given the Rams enough love. So I'm going to go with LA there.
All right, I'm going to go with Seattle in this game. I believe this. I believe the Rams can contain DK Metcalf with Jalen Ramsey. But I think the Seahawks will get big plays elsewhere, as he's not the only big play receiver they got. I think that also, the Rams can exploit the Seahawks defense in many places. I think this is a final possession game. I'm really going with Seattle here just because I think Russell Wilson is the better quarterback in the games in Seattle, Steve.
Yeah, I think the key to determining the outcome of this game is how well the Rams front line defensively can contain Russell Wilson. If you keep him in the pocket and contain him, you're going to neutralize him a little bit because he's as good at scrambling quarterback and getting out of the pocket and making good throws and making things happen as there is in the league right now. I don't think the Rams had anything other than just kind of a letdown for a week or two, and I think they're going to elevate themselves back up. I'm going to go with the Rams and the points on this one.
I don't think that the Rams had a letdown. I think the Cardinals are just better than the Rams.
Yeah, but I still don't think in watching the game, because obviously we get all the Rams games out here, I don't think the Rams have played as well in the last couple of games as they played in the first 2 games. First 2 games, we all had them pegged as the best team in the NFC, and then now we're willing to throw them away. I'm not going to give up on the Rams that quickly. That's a talented, good, solid football team, and may still be the best defensive football team in the NFC.
No, they're not. But next up, we've got the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are given 7.5 points. This game's kind of interesting to me because I think the Giants' offense is kind of figuring things out with Daniel Jones. And when you look at this game, I think this game is going to be closer to what people think. And I think 7.5 points is a lot of points. I'm going to take the Giants in the points here, Dan.
Yeah, minus 7.5 for Dallas. That's a little rich for me. I know they have the better offense, and they have been playing pretty well lately, but they're dealing with a slew of injuries. Ezekiel Elliott is now questionable. Randy Gregory still on the list, coming off of a nice 2-sack game, which I want to throw some love to Randy Gregory. I know that's Steve's boy. But
I talked to him today.
Sure. How was that? Was he happy about his 2-sack game?
Oh yeah, thrilled to death. And he said they got something lined up for Jones.
Did you ask him to be on the show yet, Steve?
Huh?
Did you ask him to be on the show yet?
We talked about it.
Yeah. Did you tell? I think he refused to be on because he heard that Dan drinks.
Well, no, he refused to be on because he said he runs on a very tight schedule. And he said, if all three of your co-hosts can't be on time,
I know,
to start the show,
like Dan,
he can't commit to doing it.
2 weeks in a row, Dan.
When we
and
have
last
somebody,
week we even moved it a day and the exact time Dan wanted, and it was still 4 minutes
when we have somebody that comes on late and can't get here on time, guys like Randy Gregory go, yeah, I just go play for the Jaguars, so I want screwed up situation.
All right, so Dan, are you taking the Giants here?
I am actually going to take the Giants. It might bite me in the ass, but I don't like that 7.5 at all.
All right, now somebody who likes to be bit in the ass. Steve, do you like the Giants or the Cowboys here?
No, I think the Cowboys offense has shown solid efficiency pretty much all season long. I think they've made baby step strides and gotten a little bit better each time. Dax is really starting to feel it back. I don't think that foot and that leg and ankle is even on his mind anymore. I know Ezekiel is questionable, but I think the way the Cowboys are playing, that's going to make Ezekiel want to play. And if he's got it in him to go, he's going to go. And that kid gives you 110% every time he touches the football. So I don't think 7.5 points is that big of a spread for the Cowboys against the Giants, who eked the win out last week
at New Orleans by a touchdown.
New Orleans,
in a game we thought 7 points was way too.
But I, unlike you, have no faith in Jameis Winston to carry that team.
Well, I would believe that, but the fact that you did not pick against the Saints last week.
No, I didn't, and that's the last time I probably won't do that in a game like that.
I will say, sorry, Steve.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say
I'm taking the Cowboys and the points. So go ahead, Dan.
Cowboys. All right. I was going to say a couple things on this game. One, it was a huge shock to everybody that they released Jalen Smith. Their star linebacker that they drafted in the second round out of Notre Dame a few years ago. He had a horrific college injury that many people questioned if his NFL career would ever be the same, or upcoming NFL career would ever be what it could have been. He's played really well. He earned a second contract with the Cowboys, but he just hasn't been able to get on the field for him. They brought in N'Keal Harry. I'm sorry, not N'Keal. Wow, Neal from the Falcons in the offseason. He's a former safety. They have him at linebacker. There just wasn't any room for Smith, so he got released. Big shock. Now I think he's in Green Bay, and that's a good look for the Packers. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But this game could be a blowout, man. I'm going with the Giants just based off of how they've been looking lately. But let's be honest, the last couple of weeks, the teams that they've been playing aren't quite right. The Falcons, the Saints aren't even what they used to be. So the Cowboys could easily blow out the Giants this week, but I'm going to go with the Giants. We'll see if I do that next week.
All right, next up, the Tennessee Titans will go play Urban Meyer and his Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it is $1 lap dance day and Jacksonville for the games also to try to get some kind of crowd out there. The Jaguars are getting 4.5 points. This is the lock of the week to me. Tennessee played like crap last week. They'd lose to the Jets. They're not going to lose this game. Jacksonville will have an extra 3 days to prepare. But Urban, instead of coming home with his team to prepare on a Thursday night, decided to go hang out at his bar for a few days and hang out with the grandkids. That, to me, causes concern. I think Tennessee wins this game. I think this is a lock at 4.5 points, Steve.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. The only thing that would make me think differently, and it's not going to, is that the rest of the coaches and team have just written Meyer off now, and they're not even listening to him and not even paying any attention to his preparation and doing what they got to do. And we'll see what happens, but I got to see that develop in the next couple of games before I would start putting any money toward Jacksonville. I agree with you. I think this is the lock of the week. Tennessee, they're in charge of the AFC South. You got two teams at 1-3 and 1-0-4. This is a good opportunity for them to spread it out because I believe Houston and the Colts both have brutal games this week. And, I think Tennessee's got all the motivation and the personnel to blow this game wide open.
All right. What do you think,
This game is another hideous one because Jacksonville is pathetic on both sides of the ball. Like you said, Steve, they seem to just stop listening to Meyer, which, as we know, doesn't typically translate to on-field success. Teams that check out on their head coach, especially a month into the season, it could get really, really ugly. The one thing I will say, though, is the Titans have like a dozen starters who are questionable, and including both the receivers A.J. Brown and Julio Jones.
Well, I would tell you this. I believe that Jacksonville has about 53 guys that are questionable to even be in the NFL.
Well, this becomes a $10 question in this game is if Tennessee just annihilates Jacksonville, does the Sheik pull the plug on Urban Meyer after the game? Just say, nope, can't do this. We're going nowhere. We're 0-5. My quarterback's not developing, and I'm going to stop this mess right now before it gets worse. And
that would
either go to an interim head coach for the rest of the year or do something like that. I mean, I see that as a realistic possibility. Dan, do you?
That would be unprecedented. I mean, I've been following the NFL closely since the early 2000s, and even before that, I can't remember hearing anything about a first-year head coach getting fired 5 games into the season.
Well, I can't remember a lot about any first-year head coaches going lap dancing with college co-eds in Cincinnati.
I mean, you're not wrong, but hey, if I was 60, 70 years old, like
trust me, if I could have been, I'd have been there.
That's what I'm saying. If it works for him, more kudos to him. I'm sure his wife probably wasn't pleased, considering the whole religious aura they have around them and how do the right thing they are and how much Urban Meyer hates distractions. Yeah, well, he's the biggest distraction on the team. He's the biggest distraction in football in the NFL right now. It's a complete dumpster fire. It would be unprecedented because, I mean, I know Jay Gruden got fired 5 games into the season by Washington, but he was there for 2 or 3 years before they kicked him out early.
But you've got a Sheik running this team, not some rich American owner. These guys live by a different credo.
I don't believe that, Steve. I don't believe in the case of this guy that they do because this guy hired a dumpster fire. When you hire a dumpster fire, you got to know that chances are you're going to get burnt. He was just trying. I mean, my thing is this: maybe he couldn't get a better head coach because nobody wants to go coach for him.
And when it comes to guys like the owner for Jacksonville, big money, success.
By the way, hi Shelby.
Hi Shelby.
Says hi.
Hi Shelby.
When it comes to guys like that, when you get to the tippy top, you kind of have a little bit of ego. You kind of have a little bit of pride. You may not.
Urban Meyer?
No, I'm talking about Khan. He may not be willing to admit the kind of mistake he made so quick.
Yeah,
guys don't want to come out in public and say, "Hey, you know what? That was a dumb move." Yeah, I don't know what.
You're a Lions fan. I'm a Bengals fan. We both know how that can be.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but no, Steve, to answer your question, I'd be surprised if they fired him even if they got blown out.
And Dan, the only thing I can say back to you is, you talked about his wife not being happy about the move either. That's a great thing about having been married 37 years. I've built up a few hall passes. I'd be able to clear this one. I got a few hall passes tucked away.
I bet you would. We need to get your wife on the show.
Yeah, I don't know how she'd feel about that statement.
Yeah. So, Mike, you don't want to deal. You don't want to deal with.
I already got to deal with
Mike.
you.
Mike, you are not in her league.
Okay.
She is.
Steve,
not,
she
nobody to be trifled with.
And on that note, I'm going to take Tennessee as well. Derrick Henry runs for over 200, and they win by a touchdown.
All right, real quick, I want to remind everybody the Grilly Truths is sponsored by Betting.net. Betting.net makes it easy to find all the legal online casinos or sports books in your state. Head over now and see for yourself. Betting.net also finds the best promotions, discounts, and bonus codes so you don't have to. So like I said, go to Betting.net right now so they can help you take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. All right, next game up, Philadelphia. The Eagles travel to Carolina to play the Panthers. Panthers made a big signing today, Dan.
Yo, that they did. Well, they traded for Stephon Gilmore. The Patriots were going to release him. All those semantics aside, they decided to trade him instead of Carolina. He is on his last year of his contract. Carolina does have cap space, so they can theoretically give him that 3 or 4 year deal worth around $15 or $16 million a year that he wanted from New England, which he was never going to get. He is on the physically unable to perform list currently. He is working his way back. Their defense is stacked at all levels. They are absolutely loaded. If I'm a Panthers fan, got a new quarterback in the offseason, your defense is looking right. Now you added the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year for a 6th-round pick. Highway robbery. A+. I love that move. And what's the line for Carolina, by the way?
It is
3.5.
4.5 or 3.5.
Oh,
Yeah,
3.5.
3.5.
Minus 3.5 Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Carolina.
Okay. All right. Real quick, we've got a question from Sefton. And Sefton says Carolina 26, Eagles 20. He says, how are y'all doing? My team and Steve. I guess he's taking shots at you. I think Sefton's been on the shows before taking shots at you. I kind of like Sefton. But he says,
respect.
Who should get more credit for the New England Patriots' success over the past 20 years, Brady or Bill? Steve?
Belichick.
Dan?
Brady.
You're an idiot then. Because if there was no Belichick there, Brady probably never would even be a quarterback.
Yeah, if there was no Belichick, Brady would not be Tom Brady.
No.
I don't know, man, because I heard something with Belichick when they asked him about it. They said the reason they kept him on was because they didn't want another team to sign him because of the potential they saw in him.
Well,
so you say
answered your own question.
No, but I'm saying, you say, oh, Bill Belichick decided to keep him. Well, we see what Tom Brady is today.
Well,
I don't think he needed Belichick to push him.
I think
I think
he
you're
needed that organization.
If I was to develop a prototype for what I would call a system-oriented quarterback, it would be Tom Brady.
All quarterbacks are system-oriented.
Yeah, but he is the poster child of system. Manning kind of created his own system in Indianapolis. But you're right. It still was a system.
Peyton Manning is a complete system quarterback. Any quarterback that's good is.
But he created his own system because he didn't have the coaching there.
He really didn't. No, he had Jim Moore. Jim Moore is a good football coach.
Yeah. Playoffs.
And he got the New Orleans Saints there when nobody else ever had. But my point is this. When you look at what Belichick did before Brady, it's obvious Belichick was already one of the greatest defensive coaches that ever lived. And if you dropped Tom Brady in Cleveland in 1999, Tom Brady probably would have been out of the NFL within 2 or 3 years.
Hey, can you guys ask Sefton what I need to do to get on his good side? Does he want an autographed Bobby Knight basketball or something like that?
Come on, you've already told me that it's always his secretary that signs them, Steve. Get off of it.
Well, he didn't know. Wouldn't have known that until now.
Yeah, but still, I mean, hell, Sefton's probably young. You probably never heard of Bobby Knight. I'm just
probably hadn't either.
And actually, I do want to throw out a couple of quick injury updates for this game for the Panthers and for the Eagles. Shaq Thompson has a foot injury. He's out. That's a huge loss for that team. One of their best defensive players, one of the best linebackers in the league, and that's going to be a huge loss for him. Offensive tackle Cam Irving is also questionable. Of course, they're still missing Christian McCaffrey. He'll be out for another few weeks. And then the Eagles on the other side, Lane Johnson, who was inactive for week 4 for them, is again questionable for personal reasons. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as the week progresses.
Yeah. I want to close by one thing, if I could, on that question from Sefton. I don't want to knock Tom Brady. He is the GOAT. I believe he is the GOAT. But I believe he's the GOAT. He would not be necessarily the outright GOAT without Belichick and Belichick's system
you can say the same thing about Belichick. It goes hand in hand. And when
it
people make
it was a good marriage.
Hey,
it was a great marriage.
Who came first, Vince Lombardi, or who was more important, Lombardi or Starr? Who was more important, Staubach or Landry, Bradshaw or Knoll? The problem is this. Right. You can't be an all-time great without that tandem.
Exactly.
That's right. You're not wrong.
But, okay, Mike, let me just end it on this. If you're drafting and you can draft, you get one number 1 pick for coaches and players, who's your number 1 pick when they're all in their prime?
For coaches or players?
Yeah, you're building a team. a new team, and the players and coaches are all in the same draft. Personnel. You're drafting the entire personnel for your football team. 53 players and 12 coaches. Who's your number one pick?
At head coach?
Yeah.
And quarterback?
I'm
going to go a different way here. If it's my team, even though I think Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, I would go Joe Gibbs as my head coach.
Okay, fair.
I would go Joe Gibbs as my head coach because I think Joe Gibbs is the most underrated legendary coach of all time. And the reason is he won, 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, all played different styles of football.
Right.
And I think I would take Joe Gibbs as my head coach. And my quarterback, in that case...
Well, that wasn't the question.
Joe
the question
Montana.
Is you get one pick.
One pick.
Oh.
One pick. So you took Joe Gibbs.
I'm just taking Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's
because
fine.
Joe Gibbs will take a guy like Doug Williams, who was on the scrap heap for
Williams.
4 or 5 years, and win a Super Bowl. He'll take a guy like Mark Rypien. And Mark Rypien, for 3 or 4 years, looked like one of the best quarterbacks in history. And then he wasn't. And then he takes Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann was just a guy until Joe Gibbs got there in 1980. I mean, Sonny Jurgensen was still playing, almost 40 years old a couple years before that because they didn't want Theismann playing. And Theismann started his career in the CFL because nobody in the NFL thought he could play in the NFL. Yeah. And that guy, that's who he won his 3 Super Bowls with.
Yep. No, that's fine. So,
all right, Philadelphia, Carolina, Steve, who you got?
I got Carolina.
You got Carolina? I'm going to go differently here. I'm going to go Philadelphia. If this was at 3 points, I wouldn't. But at 3.5, I will, and I'll tell you why. The Dallas Cowboys absolutely, well, put it like this. I think the Panthers have major issues covering tight ends. And the Cowboys tight ends cause problems for the Panthers. I think the Eagles could do the same thing with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. And this may come down to which defensive front is more stout. But when I look at this, Sam Darnold has been a machine rushing for touchdowns. I think Jalen Hurts' elusiveness and the injuries Carolina has on their defense give Philadelphia an edge. I think they could even possibly pull the upset and win this game. But I'm going to take the Eagles into points right now.
You know, I may need to rethink mine here because I just realized something. They're playing at Carolina, right?
Correct.
There'll be nobody at the football game.
Why is that?
Because they're racing at the Roval over Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Oh, my God, boys. Steve, one cares about NASCAR.
Hey, Dan, what is the most watched spectator sport in the United States?
I Googled it.
And what did the answer say?
It said NASCAR.
And how did you announce it? By a long shot.
How about this? How about this? Give me this. I would say, what has better TV ratings, the Super Bowl or the Daytona 500?
Super Bowl.
And you can take the Daytona 500, combine the ratings with the Indy 500, and still not touch the Super Bowl.
Right, you're right. I get it.
So be quiet. Don't get all cocky because I let you talk about Bubba Wallace on Survive and Advance.
Survive and Advance today. All right, move on. I'm sorry.
All right.
I had to throw that in. That's my one NASCAR shot for the day.
Next up, the Jets in Atlanta. I didn't realize this is in England.
Yes, it's on. It's on like 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time.
What about COVID?
Oh, the COVID doesn't exist in London.
Okay.
You know who the guest coach for the Jets is this week, don't you?
Who to what?
The guest coach for the Jets are this week.
They're not using their regular coach?
No, they're using Ted Lasso.
Oh, okay.
I see what
He's over there running Richmond, his soccer team.
I love that show.
That is a great
show on TV.
And it was the one time Steve told me to watch something, and it was actually good.
Good job, Steve. Opening up the world, Mike's world to new things.
All right, so here we go. The Jets at the Falcons, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Be 6:30 for Steve if he wants to get up extra early to watch.
I'm up. There's a Formula One race at 4:30, so I will be
Falcons.
up.
Jets came off a win last week. Do they get another one, Steve? The Falcons are favored by 3.5.
I'll take the Jets and the points in this game.
All righty, let's go to the big dog, Dan.
Woo! Well, in terms of injuries, at least, I'm looking around here. The Jets are bit by the injury bug a little bit more. They got a bunch of guys who are questionable so far. But nobody special, nobody serious. Elijah Moore is the biggest name on their list. And on the flip side, Nothing crazy for Atlanta. Marlon Davidson's questionable. Russell Gage is questionable. This is just a hideous game talent-wise. I hate everything about this game. I hate that line. I hate both these teams. I hate that it's in London. I just hate it. I hate all of it.
Mike,
I'm gonna,
go ahead. I'm sorry. When you're
honestly,
done,
I'm gonna go with the Jets just
Yeah.
because I hate this 3.5. I think the Falcons might end up winning because I think the Falcons are the better team. But all bets are off. It's a neutral zone. It's a neutral site. Both teams are going to be jet lagged. It's going to be hideous. I'm so glad I'm going to be sleeping for this game.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I just think they're the better team. This is a horrible game.
They are.
Though. Go ahead, Steve. What do you got?
Why on earth would the NFL use a game like this to promote in London, England, where they're trying to create a market, and to put it on national TV because it is a nationally televised game?
I would probably say because London doesn't care who's playing.
Yeah.
All
They
these
just want
games,
the experience of a football game.
exactly. All
and
these
here
games
you say Falcon
sell out.
fans the possibility of having to pay tickets to watch the Falcons and the Jets. So Falcons fans will be happy.
There you go. But
There
yeah, no,
you go.
it's something different for them. It's
Yeah.
a different attraction. They used to have NFL Europe over there, and now they don't got squat. They have, I mean, each individual country has their own football leagues, but nothing like the NFL. And why wouldn't you pile up? The Brit, they love it. I get it.
You know, it's interesting. I spoke one time several years ago to a player who played in that NFL Europe League,
Mhm.
and he said that the NFL players over there, even though they were basically cutoffs from NFL teams, or taxi squad players,
Yeah,
were revered as gods.
sounds about right.
Yeah, they were looked at as gods, bigger than the soccer
You got to
players.
remember, look at the players that played over there, though. Hell, Kurt Warner, who's in the
Warner,
NFL Hall of
yep.
Fame, played there.
Yeah.
John Kitna. There was a lot of guys there
Yeah.
that had successful NFL careers
Yeah.
after being there. All right, next up, we got the Miami Dolphins at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are favored by 10.5 points.
Wait, Steve, who
What?
did you pick?
I took the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steve took the Jets before either one of us picked. Pay attention.
I wasn't paying attention to what he said.
I know you
Sorry, Steve. I love you. I'm kidding. Okay, what
That's
are we?
okay.
Miami
No.
10.
Don't worry about it.
We've got the Dolphins at the Bucks. Bucks are favored by 10.5. That's a lot of points. Miami sucks. I mean, they can't run the ball. They can't throw the ball. They can't play defense. I mean, this comes back to the fact that people keep talking about coaches on a hot seat. When are we talking about the guy in Miami on a hot seat, Dan?
Honestly, when he got hired, I loved Brian Flores. I thought he was a great coaching hire, and his time in Miami has been very much up and down. They have moments where they look like a junior varsity club. They don't belong on the field. Then they have street stretches where they go last 8 games of the season, they win 6 games and shit, and they look respectable. But it's getting to the point where when are you going to stop making excuses for injuries and inconsistencies and things like that? And when are you going to start holding these guys accountable? It sucks that Tua's hurt. I think that's a big part of it. Will Fuller not being there.
Really?
Sucks.
I mean, is there really, from what we've seen, a bigger difference between Tua and Jacoby Brissett? Because they kind of look like the same guy to me.
They do. You're not wrong, but I think that's more on what kind of offense they're running. It's like with Justin Fields. The Bears are holding Justin Fields back. A lot
Exactly.
of
That's
checkoffs,
why I'm
dump offs,
saying-
nonsense, short
Yeah.
passes, trying to protect their quarterback. I get it. It's boring though, and it sucks. And I don't know how it really helps their development. I mean, I think Jacoby Brissett looked a lot worse last week than Tua
Oh, he
has.
looked terrible last week.
He looked so bad last week. And
Actually, to tell you the truth, that whole team looked so bad it almost looked like they weren't even trying.
yeah, actually, I think I actually heard an analyst say something like that. It looked like they just didn't care out there, and that sucks. I don't know how on offense in 2021 in the NFL you have less than 100 yards of total offense going into the fourth quarter. That's disgusting. They should be ashamed of themselves. I get the problems, but you're right. Bringing up a question about Flores. It's when are they going to hold him accountable? If they disappoint this year and go 500 or sub 500, I think Miami would be well within their rights to let him go and see what goes on
Well, how
next.
about this?
Get
Who
an
picked the
offensive
players?
coach in
With
there.
all these picks, who screwed these picks up? I mean, is that Brian Flores or is that the GM? And maybe the GM needs to be out of there before Brian Flores even.
I mean, the GM is the one who took Tua over Justin Herbert. So it's you got to look at the top because someone that he's the one making those calls with the blessing of the coaching staff, hopefully, and the scouts, of
Yeah, but you
course,
put Justin
hopefully.
Herbert
But
there, they may do the
yeah,
same safety first crap, and Justin Herbert
maybe.
doesn't look very good right now.
Maybe I just hope for Tua's sake because I really like Tua coming out of college. I hope for Tua's sake, if they do fire Flores, they bring in a modernized offensive coach who can help open things up a bit more. And for God's sakes, get this kid a running game and an offensive line. That's the big thing with Miami. I've noticed they've put money draft picks into that offensive line, and it is not better. It is just as bad now as it was 2 years ago.
And you can't pick Tua because he is injury prone, and that's the way it's always going to be. And it has no bearing on whether he can play or not. You're just not going to get him for 16 games very often. All right, do we all agree we're taking Tampa Bay here?
Yeah, I'm going to take Tampa Bay.
Yes.
All right, next up, the New Orleans Saints, who are struggling to say the least right now, will go to Washington to play the Washington football team, a team I like to call them by the old nickname I have for them, which is the Redskins. But Washington's defense has been a major disappointment all around. It gets a break here against a team with a limited and inconsistent offense around Alvin Kamara. So when I look at this game, the Saints are favored by 1.5 points. I'm going to take Tyler Heineke in Washington. I think Washington's going to win this game outright, even though the point spread is not that big anyway, so it's not really an upset. It's more of a toss-up. What do you think, Steve?
Tough. At 1.5, it's a tough game for me to call. Yeah. I mean, I don't have your expertise and knowledge, or
don't forget that.
Sefton's. I don't have his expertise and knowledge either. So, I'm going to take the Saints and give up the points.
All right, Dan.
I think Jameis is in for a good game.
Well, he better because after that first week where he threw 5 touchdown passes, he's been wildly mediocre. I agree. Wildly mediocre. But that's another thing. I don't really blame him that much either because they've got us 3 as his top 3 receivers. So
no, if he did, he'd be undefeated right now. Risley's tall, I'm agile, and you're
completely useless
on the bench. Go
ahead. I mean, you guys are right. It's another ugly game. I'm going to go with Washington. I think they're going to win it outright. Let's just do it live.
Yeah, I think this with McLaren and them, I think they can run the ball enough. I don't know that New Orleans has got enough here.
I mean, Washington. With all the injuries. Yeah, Washington has a bunch of injuries themselves. Logan Thomas is out. He's on IR with a hamstring injury. Brandon Scherf, another one who's out. He's supposed to be back. He's got an MCL issue. Curtis Samuel's just off the injured reserve list. He's got a groin issue. So they've got a bunch of guys who are questionable. I expect most of them to play. But at the end of the day, they're the better team. And I'm looking for Scary Terry to put up some stats against New Orleans.
Yeah, and don't forget Antonio Gibson either.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson is another one. Yep. I think he's one with a shin injury, I think it was. Yeah, shin. Yep.
All right, next up, we've got Dan's Detroit Lions going to Minnesota.
Hey, just as a note,
Vikings. Wow.
Top of 2, St. Louis up 1-0 over the Dodgers.
Well, good. I hope your Dodgers get beat.
Yeah, me
Thank
too.
you.
But we've got the Minnesota Vikings favored by 7.5 over the Detroit Lions. I think Jared Goff's in for another rough afternoon. This is a team that does fight. They play hard. They're just not very good, Dan.
They're not. And as a Lions fan, it's nice to see the team play hard. They care. They're trying. And one of my buddies, my friend Alex, earlier in the preseason, he said he bet on Dan Campbell to win Coach of the Year this year. I laughed at him and I said, great job.
It's funny.
It's an awful bet to make, but he put that bet down and good for him for having so much faith in the Lions. I know better. And he said Dan Campbell was the Ted Lasso of the NFL. a rah-rah guy, do the right thing.
Ted Lasso got relegated his first year.
Yeah.
So
And
does that mean the Detroit Lions will drop down to the Big Ten?
they deserve it. They should have dropped down there a decade ago. They're awful. I love my team, but god damn it, do I hate my team at the same time. And Detroit,
Mike, you use the
unlike
Lord's name in vain.
You're not supposed to use the Lord's name in vain on the show.
that's my bad, guys. But
Okay.
Detroit is also dealing with injury problems. TJ
Steve's a
Hawkinson's
priest.
got questions. Benny Souls got issues. They're both questionable. They also just put Frank Ragnow, their all-star center, on the IR. A huge, huge hit. It's Romeo. They lost their top pass rusher and Romeo Aquara. Trey Flowers might not play. The Lions are just screwed. They released Jamie Collins. I'm going to go with Minnesota. Long story short, I'm going to go with Minnesota on this
All right,
one.
Steve, agree?
Yeah, agreed. Vikings.
All right, next up, the Denver Broncos will travel to Pittsburgh to battle the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 1.5. I am going to take the Steelers in this game just because I think Drew Lock's going to play. It looks like Teddy
Yuck.
Bridgewater may be out, Dan.
Yuck, yuck, yuck. I hate it. I mean, in the preseason, I predicted that Drew Lock would win the job over Teddy, but that was because I wasn't impressed by Teddy. We know what Teddy is.
Yeah,
He's
but
a
how can you be
safe-
impressed by Drew Lock?
I'm not impressed by Drew Lock, but at least Drew has that ceiling where he could, in any game, throw for 300 yards and a few touchdowns and do something special. He had moments last year, and I figured they would go for the upside potential, at least maybe early on. But at this point, it's just an injury thing. Teddy Bridgewater suffered a concussion. It's up in the air if he's going to play. I really, really want to go with Denver in this one. I think they are same level as Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's also dealing with injuries. Claypool is probably out. Juju Smith-Schuster dealing with a rib injury, also questionable. It's and let's be honest, guys. Big Ben, it's retirement plans, bro. Just all Ben's probably looking at now is homes in Florida where he could retire and just fade away because that's where he's at this point. I don't want to. It's another one. I don't want to blame Ben entirely because that offensive line is pathetic. They can barely run the ball. All his receivers have already
Big Ben
dealt
is
with
still
injuries.
better than Drew Lock.
You're probably, you know what? Yeah,
No,
you're
I'm
probably
right. Big Ben in a nursing home, drooling on himself at 83 would outplay
Drooling
Drew Lock.
on himself. Don't even know where he is anymore. Still thinks it's 2009 and they're winning chips out there. It's in Pittsburgh. I hate this game too, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
All right, Steve. Pittsburgh or Denver? Pittsburgh? Okay. That's good, Steve. Straighten to the point so we can wrap this crap up and get to probably the biggest game in a century. The Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers will go to Cincinnati to battle the Bengals. The Packers are favored by 3.5, Steve.
My heart wants to go with Cincinnati so bad. I'd like to see new franchises win in this league and get
New
different
franchises.
teams. Well, new teams up on top of the leaderboards, and vying for division championships as opposed to the same old every time. But I think, I think that Rodgers is clicking into gear now. I think this is going to end up being a duel between Rodgers and Burrow. And I think it's evenly matched, Mike. I'm not going to sit here and knock on Burrow because I think he can hold the zone with Green Bay. But I just think I'm going to take Green Bay and give up the 3.5 points very begrudgingly because I'm really going to be rooting for Cincinnati. But I think if I was betting, I'd bet Green Bay and give up the 3.5.
All right, I'm betting on the Bengals. I think this is a mismatch. Jair Alexander will not be playing. They have nobody that can guard Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Defensively in the defensive backfield, the Bengals have one of the best safety combinations in football. They didn't play last game because of injuries, but Von Bell and Jesse Bates will be back. You've got Trey Wayans, who played last week. You got Awuzie, who played great the first 3 games of the season until he got hurt or all back. I think the Bengals win this game, Dan.
Mike, are you not concerned at all about the potential of both T. Higgins and Mixon missing this game?
No, not as long as you've got Jamar Chase and Boyd, and the Bengals still have decent runners, and Joe Burrow's better than Aaron Rodgers.
You like P. Ryan, really? P. Ryan has been butt.
No, you've been butt, Dan. I mean,
actually,
I've watched him
I
play.
haven't. I'm in first place, baby.
I hate to tell you this, but the Bengals have a running back that I think is better than Joe Mixon on their roster anyways.
Go on.
You can't tell me who that is?
I haven't the slightest clue. I don't know who their third string running back is. No.
He's not a third string running back. It's the fact that they gave a contract extension to Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they bury my guy from Michigan.
What was his name? Mike?
You're getting there.
Mike Davis? No.
Almost.
I was close. It's Mike something.
Come on. You put him on your fantasy team this week, you may rack up some points.
I don't know his last. Mike. Oh, Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. And Chris Evans will play his ass off. And I'm telling you this, the Bengals secondary is very good, and the Bengals pass rush is very good. Logan Wilson's good. My only question is they could lose the game if they decide not to throw the ball deep because Zach Taylor's a moron. But as long as you take 5 deep shots, I think Chase catches 2 touchdown passes. The game's in Cincinnati. The Bengals didn't play well against Jacksonville, but they were also playing shorthanded, still won the game. They've had an extra 3 or 4 days to prepare over Green Bay. I think Green Bay's got a young coach that not as bad as O.P. Taylor, but he's not that good either. The Bengals win this game. So, Dan, I guess you're taking Green Bay.
I'm going to take Green Bay. I feel a little bit of Homer.
There is no Homer. Hey, you can ask Steve. There's very little Homer in me when it comes to picking a game.
Well, this feels a little bit Homery because Aaron Rodgers, since his week 1 fluke, has been the second best quarterback in the league.
He's really
every
not,
week.
But okay.
Since that week 1, there's not been a quarterback besides Mahomes who's been better.
That's stupid. Wait a second. No, come on. Don't give me that shit. You're living off the last 3 years when you throw Mahomes in there, and you know it.
You know he threw 5 touchdowns against the Eagles, right? Like I said.
Wow, against the Eagles. What did he do in the games he lost?
Rebounded.
Hey, all I'm telling you is this. Kyler Murray has played better than any quarterback in the NFL right now.
Kyler Murray might be the MVP frontrunner.
So how can you say he's top 2 but not mention Kyler Murray in those 2?
Because Rodgers is a GOAT and Mahomes is a GOAT.
Rodgers is a GOAT. No,
he's a
GOATs
young
win
GOAT.
Super Bowls.
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, a decade ago, and he's not done jack shit since.
Nah, man, you're sleeping on Rodgers.
How am I sleeping on Rodgers?
Just like you're sleeping on Herbert. Just like you're sleeping on Lamar Jackson.
I'm not sleeping on Herbert. I think
excited.
Herbert is good. I think Lamar Jackson is good. I never said neither one of them weren't. I think if I say that Joe Burrow's better than them, that doesn't mean anything. Does that mean I think John Elway sucks because I thought Tom Brady was better?
No, not at all.
Exactly. So don't give me that crap. And don't give me a homer pick. Watch the game. And I'm telling you this, the Evans kid from Michigan could start on a lot of teams in the NFL. And I think Green Bay is overrated. They struggled against Detroit. You know that, week 2. They struggled last week against Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a 27-17 game. That's a team that the Bengals pretty much dominated the week before that. And the Bengals defense is better than the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers are missing, 2 starting offensive linemen? Nobody believes the offensive line's held up that well. Watch Hendrickson from the Bengals at D end. Ogunjobi, is he in or out, did they say?
Ogunjobi is questionable for this week with a knee injury.
With the depth on the Bengals defensive line, the Bengals will be in this game to the end. And if they are, I'll take Joe Burrow in the last minute. We can't hear you because you just screwed your mic up. Damn. Steve, don't you get tired of amateur hour when we give a new guy a big opportunity like this and he drops the ball?
Hey, when your last name's Kornhauser, that's what happens.
I know. Just turn
every guy on the radio that I know's name is Kornhauser is a fuck up.
Yo,
I know 2 of them, and they're both screw ups.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
You're kind of low. But next up, we've got New England at Houston. And the Texans are getting 9.5 points here. This is an awful lot of points. I'm going to take Houston in this game. That would be stupid, though, so I might take New England. I'm going to see what Steve Risley thinks first. Steve, what do you think?
Well, that's not fair. I'm going to see what Dan thinks first.
All right, Dan, what do you think?
I'm taking New England.
You're taking New England. All right. What do you think, Steve?
I got to go with New England in this. Houston's just a mess, a big hot mess.
I'm going with New England, too. I really think that I should take the points, but Houston's a mess.
Yeah.
Next up, the Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are favored by 5.5 points, Steve.
Where's the game's at? Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go with the Raiders.
All right. Dan, agree?
Very reluctantly so, yes. I'll go with the Raiders as well.
Why are you reluctantly so?
I don't know. I still don't trust the Raiders. I
agree with you, Dan.
I don't trust them. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's their defense, if it's their secondary, if it's their
Gruden.
Is it Gruden?
You don't know,
man. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel confident in the Raiders at all. They've looked great. Even in a loss against the Chargers, they looked good. It's just I don't know. Something's missing from them. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe I'll have some better idea next week, but I don't trust the Raiders at all. So I'm going to go with them reluctantly on this one, only because I don't think Chicago knows what the hell they're doing. I know they named Justin Fields their starter officially today, even regardless of what happens with Andy Dalton. So it's about time. They probably should have been starting this young man from week 1. Screw it. Let him take his lumps. But
Steve, pay attention.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take the Raiders also. I think the Bears could cover this. I think the Bears could win it, especially if David Montgomery plays, because I think he could have a big game on him.
He's out.
Not playing? He's out?
Nope,
all right.
he's totally out.
Definitely we're going that way then. I would say it's a lock without Montgomery there. I don't see Fields pulling this off. Next up, the Cleveland Browns will go to L.A. to battle the Chargers. The Cleveland is actually favored by a point here, Dan.
This is a pick'em game. This is a damn good one. Other than all these other trash games like the Jets in Atlanta and Tennessee and Jacksonville and all these yuck games, this is actually a really good matchup, and this is one of my favorite ones of this week. Cleveland looked legit last week. I don't care that they only put up 14 points. Their defense looks right. Their pass rush looks right. Myles Garrett is trying to be the defensive player of the year right now. I am impressed, and I am not easily impressed. You can ask anyone that knows me. Nothing really impresses me. I am very harsh.
You're an asshole.
Yeah, I am very. Yeah, you're
usually
not
people that can't be impressed are just assholes, and really they have low self-esteem, so they want everybody else to be a loser like them. But go ahead, Dan.
I'm going to channel my inner TO here. I'm going to say I love me some me.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Maybe one of these days you could buy a mic so you don't have to hold it up to your face.
Yeah, I know. Technology. I'm going to have to upgrade if I'm going to be up here with the big boys. I see you guys with your headsets and stuff, looking all professional. Steve looks like he's ready for a lobby on Xbox and let some kids know that they suck. I love it. You guys might not get it because, video games and # you're old. But, our viewers might enjoy it.
You don't get it when we talk about Pong and Atari either. So
my brother had an Atari, and he's old too. But no, anyway, I love Justin Herbert. You guys have heard me on the show.
All right,
sing his praises.
Hold on. Sefton says, Justin Herbert seems a generational talent. I expect the Chargers to win by 10. I can tell you this, Sefton. A generational talent is in Cincinnati, not in L.A. Justin Herbert loses to the Cleveland Browns.
The one thing I will say is the injury report for the Chargers is not looking promising. They put Kenneth Murray on IR, which is their stud young linebacker. They took him in the first round last year. He's got an ankle injury, so he's going to be out. Chris Harris, the star corner they brought in from Denver, is also questionable, probably going to be out. So I'm curious how that'll impact their defense. Cleveland, on the flip side, is also dealing with a ton of injuries, albeit I don't think any of them are really anything special. The one big name is Greg Newsome, the corner, who's got a calf injury. Their rookie corner they drafted in the first round this year out of Northwestern. He's going to be out. He's been playing lights out thus far. But other than that, a bunch of questionable tags. I expect most of these guys to play. This is very much a pick 'em, but I'm going to go with the better quarterback in this one. And I'm going to go with the Chargers.
That's funny.
He's better than Baker. I don't want to hear it.
I hate to tell you this, but he's got a lot better players around him. I haven't seen Justin Herbert go to the playoffs. And this is absolutely a slam dunk, take it to the bank pick. The Browns will win this game because they have one advantage. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're built to attack the Chargers' weakness as well. And, they can avoid the Chargers' strength. The Chargers can make some big plays with their wideouts, but Cleveland's defense is better than any defense they've played so far. I think Cleveland's defense makes a key player too, because the thing about generational Justin is what I like to call him. He always seems to make one or two big mistakes, even in games he wins. You can't afford to do that. The Cleveland Browns are not the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cleveland Browns can play defense. They can run the ball. And as I said at our first show, y'all laughed at me. The Cleveland Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl this year. Steve?
I mean, how could we not laugh? It is.
You're not laughing now. You also laughed at me last week when I told you the Jets would beat the Titans.
I'm just counting. That's the beer number 2 for Dan.
So. No, it's number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Okay. And his picks ain't getting no better. What do you think, Steve?
Nope.
Cleveland at Chargers.
And I'm going to take – I become a Chargers fan living in L.A., but I'm going to go with Cleveland on this one. For the reasons you said, Mike. I think the running game's just too strong. And Baker Mayfield's the guy who's just learning how to win he's learning how to move the chains and consistently move the chains and get that ball up and down the field and be able to score points every time they touch the football. So, and when you got 2 running backs like the Cleveland's got, and then Mayfield's ability to maneuver the football through the air effectively, Cleveland's going to be hard to beat. And, I'm taking Cleveland in the 1 point.
All right, next up, the San Francisco 49ers will travel to Arizona to battle the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals so far look like the best team in the NFC, and the 49ers will be rolling out Trey Lance full time with Jimmy Garoppolo injured with a calf. I think this. I think if Jimmy Garoppolo was playing, I would actually pick the Niners to win this game because the Cardinals are coming off a huge win in LA. There's got to be some kind of a letdown. I still worry here that they can't cover the spread, though, Dan, because of that huge letdown after winning that game. This is the old trap game everybody always talks about.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. This San Francisco team, with or without Jimmy, was going to lose this game. I don't know what your fascination is with Jimmy Garoppolo.
I don't know what your fascination is with beer.
Really? One of those is good. And
Dan, what I tell you, it always gets personal, Dan. See, it always
Dan's the one attacking you too, Steve, because you like Jimmy
subset of football. But he's questioning my football knowledge. Your question is choice of beverages.
Well, it's just sad.
It's fine.
As you get older, you just have to pee every 5 minutes.
I don't have those problems because I'm not old.
Yeah, well, you will be if you're lucky. The way you run your mouth, though, you probably won't last very much longer.
We'll see. It's gotten me this far. But no, I mean...
You're in your mom's basement, Dan. Just admit it.
I am glad that Jimmy is hurt and going to be out this game, so I don't got to hear about it.
Yeah, so you can't be wrong.
So I don't got to hear about it because I'm done with the Jimmy conversation.
Well, you'd rather have Trey Lance have at it because Trey Lance is not an NFL quarterback.
Well... We'll see. He's looked decent in
He was terrible last week, Dan.
In limited play.
He was terrible last week.
Hey, he doesn't turn the ball over like, that's a good thing. He doesn't
take him to the Super Bowl the way did either.
You're not wrong. I'm excited to see Trey Lance. This is actually a very intriguing game for me. I don't think San Francisco has a chance. They're still dealing with injuries at running back. They have injury, Kittle's questionable. Quan Williams and Josh Norman in the secondary are questionable. Robbie Gould, their kicker. Oh, it's a kicker. Well, there ain't a lot of good kickers out there. He's out. He's on injured reserve. So,
don't you hate when people say something they think's funny, Steve, and they laugh to themselves and nobody else even smiles?
I'm a funny guy. I love my jokes. I'm going to go with Arizona in this one. All things being equal, they're just a better team. Kyler's going to put on a show.
I think they're one of the two best teams in the NFL right now. Steve?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of the 4.5 point spread. I think this is a double-digit win for Arizona.
Woo!
Oh, all right. Next up, Indianapolis at
Look,
Baltimore.
Sefton calls it a 45-20 win for Arizona.
Well, it's about right. About time Sefton got it right.
Yeah, good job, Sefton.
And it's Baltimore -7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on from Sefton. Why did the Patriots let Stephon Gilmore go? Will he end up with the Buccaneers? No, he won't end up with the Buccaneers because they ended up trading him to the Carolina Panthers.
And they let him go for a number of reasons. One, he's not available. He's still coming off injury. Two, he wanted a contract extension somewhere around 15 or 16 mil, which he absolutely should get based on his talent and previous production, age, etc. But the Patriots don't do that. They just don't. They had the GOAT at quarterback for 20 years, and he took $20 million a year, and he took hometown discounts and all that every time.
His wife makes like $100 million a year, though, so it was all right for him to do it.
I'm just saying, they had the GOAT, and the GOAT was taking half of what he should be making 75% of what he should be making. So they don't pay their guys. That's why they let him go.
All right, Indianapolis, Baltimore. Ravens are favored by 7. Steve, you're a Colts fan. Tell us how they win the game.
Steve.
You hope that Jackson has a bad game. I don't think the Colts can match up personnel-wise with Baltimore at all. 7 points is actually kind of surprising to me that it's that low. I mean, we can't take anything from Indy beating Miami last week. It wasn't a blowout win for them, and that's Miami may be one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the NFL right now. So I don't take anything away from it. I think Wentz is giving you about as good as he can give you right now. They still have some receivers there. T.Y. Hilton is not suited up for a game yet. Who's their deep threat and is really taking a lot away. Jack Doyle's been spotty offensively. The offensive line has just gotten so mediocre when this was heralded as one of the best offensive lines in football. I know they've got Quentin Nelson out, but they still should be able to recover from that and cut holes. Taylor's starting to run the ball better. He ran for over 100 yards last week. Defensive front, we heralded them as a great young edge rushing defense, and they really haven't put any pressure on a lot of people to any great. 53. What's the guy's? Our linebacker guy drawing a blank. Darius Leonard, drawing a blank right now. It just seems to be going through the motions. I don't know.
Talking about Darius Leonard or you?
Both of us.
Both, yeah.
With the Colts being 1-3 or 1-3, and pretty soon to be 1-4. I'm going through the motions. I mean, I expected this team to solidly be in the playoffs, not win the Super Bowl, not even get to the Super Bowl.
They're in a bad enough division where they maybe
they're not. They're only a game behind first place. Agreed, but I don't see anything that. And the Colts are not a notorious team for going and strengthening their team in midseason. They don't make those kinds of trades and bring people in. They go with what they got. They've always done that. I don't like Frank Reich's play calling. He's ultra conservative. He doesn't want to throw the deep ball. He doesn't want to use Wentz's arm, and I think Wentz has a good arm, but he doesn't seem to want to fire it deep anyway. And I'm going to take the Colts in the 7 points only because of this. Last week was the first time in a long time I bet against the Colts, and I got burned because the Colts ended up covering the spread and winning the game. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. I think Baltimore will win this game. I personally think it's going to be more than 7 points. But if Lamar Jackson again has a bad game or gets injured at all, this game changes complexion in a good way toward the Colts, obviously. But I'll take Indy and the -7, but watching Baltimore win this game.
All right, guys, before we get to me and Dan's final pick of the week, we want to remind you the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. It's not just sports betting. Betting.net is also your gateway to the best online casinos. Sit back, relax, have some fun with online slots, poker, or other table games. Dan, what do you think? Colts? Ravens?
Before I make my pick, I just want to throw out some fun stats that I found. And when I'm wrong, I will happily admit that I sucked. I know last week I had to eat some crow with some of the picks that I made and some of the smack that I was talking about my picks that I made the week before. And I want to take this opportunity to give Lamar Jackson the appreciation that he deserves. Because I remember earlier this season, just a couple of weeks ago, some questions about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, because he's not that good, and he's still not.
And,
I mean, do something in the playoffs.
And him and you guys.
You're the guy that
loves
loves Aaron Rodgers, who fails in the playoffs all the time too. You
I
just
remember
like failures, don't you?
I remember. Well, I'm a Lions fan,
Exactly.
and a Knicks fan.
Damn.
So yeah, and a Devils fan.
You love the devil.
I love the New Jersey Devils.
Oh, I'm a Rangers fan.
Gross. But I just want to throw some love at Lamar Jackson because I remember on this show hearing that he is a running back playing quarterback.
And
I just want to throw some stats at you that makes me wonder if a running back doing this at quarterback is a thing. Why aren't more running backs playing quarterback? And I'm going to throw some stats your way. He leads the NFL in yards per completion, leads the NFL in yards per passing attempt, leads the NFL in play action passes, leads the NFL in play action attempts on first down, and he's completing 77% of those. And he is the first player in NFL history with 1,000 passing yards and 250 rushing yards in his first 4 games of the season. They are playing without Orlando Brown, who they lost to the Chiefs in the offseason, Ronnie Stanley, who's battling injury. Their top 2 running backs are out. Their top blocking tight end and Nick Boyle is out. They're dealing with Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman in the backfield. Just nothing around him. And suddenly Marquise Brown is looking good every week. Every week Marquise Brown is getting better statistically. And I just want to give Lamar Jackson the love that he deserves for being such a good quarterback.
Hey, my point the entire time was this. They don't allow him to be a good quarterback because they want to run the ball all the time. Have I not said that the whole time, Steve? It's not that I don't think he can't be a great quarterback. I think that they have handcuffed him. And the best thing that could have ever happened to him was these running backs get hurt.
Yo, you're not wrong. Last week, they didn't have a rush longer than 11 yards. Their backs averaged 3.4 yards per carry. Just hideous. And both of you guys are right, and Stefan is right in that, yeah, you want to see these guys do it in the playoffs. It's cute, and it's fun to see these guys go off in the regular season. But let's be honest, when you're going against some of these teams that are probably going to be high in the draft, you know, you expect your superstars to go off. You expect your
remember
MVPs
this.
to go off.
2 weeks ago against the Detroit Lions, he was 16 for 31.
He was. I watched that whole game, and Lamar looked limited, to say it nicely. He did look limited in that game. But as you said, Mike, I think that's more to the coaching than it is his actual physical abilities and talent, because that boy can spin it. He's got a pretty spiral. But all that being said, even though Indianapolis played well last week, their defense was very impressive. Anytime your defense can hold an NFL offense to, 80 yards in the first half. That's very impressive. That's something that should be celebrated. Darius Leonard might be going through the motions, but the rest of that defense was on point last week. Maybe they didn't want to get embarrassed by a backup quarterback in Jacoby Ellsbury, but they played well.
Jacoby Ellsbury?
Oh,
Who
my
in the hell
God.
is Jacoby Ellsbury? It's almost as bad as when Steve would call Jacoby Brissett Jacoby Brisket.
Jacoby Brissett. I'm thinking about baseball, too. I'm sorry, guys. My mind's all over the place. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I'm going to go with Baltimore. All that being said.
All right,
Baltimore
I'm going to go with
7.
Steve. I'm going to go with Indianapolis. I think Carson Wentz plays well this week. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think the Colts will win this game.
One more thing about the Colts. Braden Smith, their right tackle, is questionable for their game.
All right, I'm picking the Ravens.
As is Kwity Paye and Rock Ya-Sin. All questionable.
Anybody named Kwity Paye can't be that good anyways. It sounds like, somebody that's a co-star in Tom and Jerry. Oh, there's Kwity Paye. Look at Steve. That. Steve's a hard ass tonight. He's not laughing at anything.
I think Steve is worried about the Dodgers. That's what's going on.
I think Steve fell asleep. He's older. Older people can sleep with their eyes open.
No, I'm here. I mean, I
think Taxi is on right now.
I think that Dan
Taxi
made a good
Judd
argument
Hirsch
for Lamar.
And Kaufman?
Hey, look, Dan, where does Lamar stand in terms of passes attempted and passes completed?
That I'd have to look up. I don't have that info.
I bet Steve's looked it up since he asked the question.
No, I have not looked it up. Okay. I just was wondering because I have a sneaking suspicion because he's more prone to want to run the ball, and he's damn good at running the ball. I mean, that's a venue that most teams don't have with their quarterback.
That's true.
And he punishes you when he runs. He doesn't just get yards for you. He's not afraid. He's like Andrew Luck was, which is what eventually put Luck out of the league. Guy couldn't avoid a linebacker if he wanted to or not. But I think that those numbers sound good, maybe because he's probably has he's in the bottom half of passes attempted and passes completed. I'm suspecting. I don't know the answer.
He is 22nd in pass attempts.
Okay, so that would bolster those. That's the same thing as saying the fastest growing company is Risley Autos. It's because Risley's only made 4 cars and sold 2 of them. So I'm growing at 50%. GM, Ford, Mercedes, they can't grow at 50%. So therefore, I'm the fastest growing car company in the world because I sold 2 of my 4 cars.
I hate the example, but I get it. And yes, You're right. You're definitely right. It does affect the stats a little bit.
We are sponsored by Risley Motors. Make sure if you're in the LA area to
No, we are not. We are bet now. Bet now.
Betting.net.
Bet.net.
Bet.net.
Woo!
Yeah, and remember to go out and check out betting.net. And betting.net finds you the best promotions, discounts, and bonus codes, so you don't have to. Head over to betting.net right now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Steve, are we going to be doing Survive in Advance at 1 tomorrow?
If you want to.
I'll do it. I don't care.
I don't have anything to talk about, but we'll conjure up something.
You never do, and we always figure out something.
All right.
Dan, you want to tell everybody where they can follow you on Twitter?
Yes, on Twitter, I am at DB, D as in Dan, B as in Bob, Talking Sports. I'm also on Instagram, so you can follow us. So
why didn't Bob ever come on?
Because we don't like Bob. Because Bob sucks, and everybody knows it. I know it's the Dan and Bob show, but it's, I'm Michael Jackson, and he's Tito. He's on the side. He's just there.
Well, see here, I'm Janet, and Steve's LaToya.
Bob got married.
And you'd be Jermaine.
Me?
Yeah, you're Jermaine.
No.
Yeah,
I'll take it, but I don't like it. I'll take it, but I don't like it.
You're Jermaine.
So at Bob's wedding earlier this year, I was the best man, and I gave my speech, and it was an epic speech. But along the line, after I complimented how beautiful and amazing and whatever that the bride was, of course, I had to roast my best friend. And one of the things I said was that Bob is like a pretty fluffy white cat with a flat face that, they're not going to hunt any mice. they're not gonna jump on your lap and demand your affection and be cute and stuff. They're gonna sit on their
like
pillow.
Urban Meyer's cat does.
Exactly. They're gonna sit. They're gonna
Steve
sit
will
on
get
their.
it in a minute.
I get it.
They're gonna sit on the window on their fluffy pillow in the sun, getting tanned. They're gonna see a mouse run across and just look at it and go back to sleep. That's Bob. Absolutely useless.
That's mean, and that was.
So that's why he's not here.
Do you still do the show with Bob?
Yeah, we still do our things. I speak to him daily. That's my boy. I love him. But
Well, he obviously
he's really
doesn't watch
fucking
this show, correct?
Oh no, he does, and
Oh,
he's let me know a few times that I've made some questionable decisions and questionable statements. Don't you worry.
Yeah, well, probably from all the beer you drink during the show.
Or does it make me wiser because I am in first place?
You would have to be drinking Budweiser. And also, I would like to say, the 7 years we've done this show, I have never been closer than 6 games out of first halfway through the season. So this means absolutely nothing.
Don't you worry. You're not going to touch first for the rest of the year.
How much you want
I'm
to bet
here
on
now.
that? I'll bet you your Lions hat.
I love this hat. This is my favorite hat.
Well, I don't want
think I'll
that
ever
hat.
bet.
It's probably got like license shit in it. So
Rude. So rude. Even Steve is shaking his head.
no, he wasn't. Steve's just trying to keep from nodding off. It's past his bedtime. But we got to wrap this show up so Steve can go watch his Dodgers and
I
Cardinals.
watched Airplane Repo at 3:30 in the morning, and it was a 2-hour show.
I don't know if you want to say that out
I
loud.
always thought Steve was like my poor man's Bill Walton.
You got to watch Airplane Repo. That's a hell of a show.
I've never even heard of it.
All these guys go all over the world stealing back airplanes that the bank is foreclosing on.
What channel is this on?
I believe Discovery.
Okay, it sounds like a Discovery show. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it's on at 2 a.m?
No, I just had it on DVR and I was awake. And
So you're awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're looking through your DVR, and you say, "You know what? This is the one." When you're looking at a repo show.
well, no, I actually
From
watched Real
Discovery.
Housewives of Salt Lake City first.
It
At
probably
2.
does.
Then at 3 o'clock, when the show was over, then I searched around a little bit more and found Airplane Repo at 3:15. But it was a 2-hour show. But I did fast forward through the commercials.
All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up because I'm about to turn the show off and everybody else has. So we will be back next Wednesday night at 8 to pick all the games again. Myself, Steve, and Dan. You can follow Steve Risley at srisley34 on Twitter. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. And tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Survive in Advance with me and Steve. But for now, for Dan, Steve, I'm Mike. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.